Next on Worcester News tonight, Tripoli concerns rise across the area after the state's Department of Public Health confirms a human case in central Massachusetts. Plus, preparations begin as the demolition of Our Lady of Mount Carmel is in sight. Crews clearing out the church for a majority of the day. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Lemon. The heat and humidity returning to the area today along with some crazy summer storms. This is video of Worcester this afternoon. Thunderstorms passing through the area with heavy rain and strong winds. A severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect until 8 p.m. tonight. Let's get a first look at our local forecast to see what we can expect for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, first it was the heat midday. We had a heat index close to 100, temperature in the low 90s, dew point in the 70s, and at the same time, storms formed and ice fell from the sky. Amazing, this large piece of ice. You can tell by the shape of it that it had done some melting on the way down. Marie in Agawam got this. This storm came right over the city, but it weakened dramatically. 2-inch diameter hail in Agawam. Many reports of trees down. We did have some damage around the city, not too much reports of hail. Thunderstorm has now moved to the south and the east. It's taking the heat and humidity away for the most part tonight, late tonight, call it 9:45. We're at 75 to 80 degrees, so it's still sticky. The wind will come in from the northwest for a few hours late tonight, and then tomorrow there's not going to be much wind. We're starting off in the 60s, and it's totally sunny. It's amazing how much drier and more comfortable the weather is going to be tomorrow. Temperature's going to get to the mid-80s, but without wind and no thunderstorms around, hardly a cloud in the sky. It looks like a beautiful Tuesday. However, this air that we had today is coming back. And on Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to get drenched once again. More thunderstorms in the 10-day forecast in a few minutes.
The Nichols College football team trying to beat the heat at practice this morning. Players say staying hydrated with water and electrolytes is their #1 priority. The coaching staff says water breaks are built into their practices.
We really have to listen to our bodies, keep a close eye on our player athletes. And again, good communication with the trainer. When I take a look at him, he's like, hey, we might want to cut it back. We cut it back.
Trainers are huge. They help us a lot. Walking around the field during drills, giving us, in between reps, they're giving us water. So that's really huge, keeping us hydrated. Not only with water, they always have electrolyte tablets, ibuprofen, whatever we need.
And it looks like they're not going to be getting a break anytime soon. Temperatures are expected to remain in the 80s over the next few days. Tripoli concerns are rising all across the state after a second person is diagnosed with a potentially deadly virus. Warnings from health officials are prompting several communities to take action, and towns are spraying to help to try to prevent the spread of the illnesses. Our Brittany Schaefer joins us live now with the latest. Brittany.
Olivia, the second human case of Tripoli is confirmed here in Grafton. The Department of Public Health says it's a man between the ages of 19 and 30. Now the town of Grafton is educating its residents on how to protect yourself.
We've had a lot of folks call our Board of Health. Obviously, people are worried.
The town of Grafton is taking extra precautions after a man from town is diagnosed with Tripoli.
It's unfortunate. You never want to see somebody or someone's family go through something like that, but all we can do is prepare people and do outreach education on how to protect themselves and their families, and if the board does opt to do the spraying.
The state lists Grafton and neighboring towns Northbridge, Shrewsbury, Southborough, Upton and Westborough at critical risk for the virus. Grafton High School's athletic teams are not practicing during peak mosquito hours of dawn and dusk and says this could impact the rest of the season.
We're taking a very close look at our schedules, practice schedules and contest schedules. Again, just making sure that we're following as closely as possible those Mass DPH and Grafton Board of Health guidelines. To cancel games would be devastating to a season, of course, and it's not something that we would want to do. This just adds a new wrinkle to the mix.
The Central Mass Mosquito Control Project sprays 42 communities in the state, including many in central Massachusetts. Executive Director Timothy Deschamps says this year's mosquito season has been more serious.
This is a severe issue. We have identified Tripoli virus on occasion, over the past decade or two. We did have indications early on that this could potentially be a more serious year. It has initiated some wider scale truck mounted spraying. And of course, the phone has been continually ringing with residents concerned about the virus.
DSHAM says they'll be spraying critical risk areas more often these next couple months and says it's important to take proper precautions against this fatal disease.
It has anywhere from a 30 to 50% mortality rate, and unfortunately most survivors from this illness have lifelong neurological conditions.
Grafton's assistant town administrator says their Board of Health is deciding whether to bring a contractor in to spray infected areas. Live in Grafton, Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
Tonight, a man charged in a deadly hit and run out of Sutton is being held on bail. In court today, we learn more about how police tracked down Shane Newman. Mike Manzoni has more on the details revealed in court today.
Tears rolled down Shane Newman's face as the suspect in a deadly hit and run appeared in Uxbridge District Court 3 days after Sutton police tracked him down in Connecticut.
He was a jogger that he'd been out for a run.
Prosecutors say Newman hit and killed 51-year-old Daniel DeLima from Millbury last Wednesday morning and then drove off. This surveillance video shows DeLima jogging just moments before the crash.
A 100-foot field of debris with over 50 pieces of a headlight.
New court documents explain how investigators found Newman. They used pieces of a broken headlight as well as paint they found at the scene to figure out that they were looking for a white Cadillac SRX. 2 people drove that kind of car in town, and investigators ruled out one of them. That led them to Newman, and according to court documents, quote, recent contact with Newman provided us with a cellular telephone number. The paperwork then says, quote, a search warrant authorized real-time global positioning location on this cellular telephone. Investigators say they also found out that, quote, he arrived at work the morning of the collision and made statements to co-workers that he had been in a crash that morning.
Anything to say about Shane?
Newman's family left the courthouse after breaking down during his arraignment. They didn't want to talk with us, but his attorney did.
You could see from the look on his face that he's emotionally distraught at this time.
Worcester police asking for the public's help identifying a man. The department sharing these pictures of the man. They say he's wanted in connection to an incident happening at the CVS on Grafton Street. It happened around 4:15 in the morning on August 8th. If you have any information, you are asked to contact police. A fare analysis will look at the possibility of a fare-free system for the Worcester Regional Transit Authority. The authority's advisory board voted unanimously Thursday to conduct the analysis. In May, the Research Bureau conducted a study saying Worcester would be the perfect candidate for a fare-free system. Many people seem to back the idea, but the WRTA is reminding people converting to a fare-free system is more than just removing fare boxes from buses.
At this point, we're going to run essentially several studies, actually. One is what alternatives do we have on other fare collection systems? We're not going to buy anything without kind of solving the second problem is, should we be a fare-free system, or is continuing to collect fares a more appropriate way to run through? That component of the study will have to look at what other sources of revenue we would have available to us to replace the cost of fares.
And the WRTA says they will continue to look at ways to make up for the fare revenue that would be lost. Demolition crews arrive on scene of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church this morning. Pieces inside the church were brought out as former parishioners watched. Some are worried their mementos will be forgotten, while others say it's time to move on. Our Chandler Walsh joins us now with more. Chandler.
Olivia, demolition crews have now moved off site, so day one of demolition work is complete. A former parishioner says today is the beginning of the end.
Truthfully, I think it's a sin to take it down.
Demolition work on Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church is beginning. Fourth-generation parishioner Anthony Postali says it's a terrible day for many people.
It's too bad it didn't work out, and it's going this route.
Postali's great-grandparents melted down their gold to help fund the church. He says he prays to Our Lady of Mount Carmel in tough times.
Many years ago, I had a collapsed lung, got pneumonia, and I was in a hospital 21 days, and when they sent me home to die, basically.
Postali says praying here saved his life.
Sure enough, I'm still here 50-some years later.
F&D Truck Company went to work Monday removing debris inside. Unlike Postali, parishioner Louise Viola says today is long overdue.
And if there weren't a problem with the church, there aren't enough donations to keep the community viable.
She says money is too short to save the church and hopes demolition brings peace between the people on both sides.
It'll be nice to see hopefully, some of the old parishioners coming back and see them once more.
Stephen Sebring tried to get into the parish center in hopes of saving a granite brick his grandfather donated to fund it.
Every time I went in there, I made sure I looked at that. It was really kind of cool to see his name there.
He didn't get in, and both he and Postali say the church meant more to their families, and seeing it go is difficult.
My mother was married here. I was baptized here. All the deaths in our family.
People think it's just a building of stone and brick and cement. A lot of people, their hearts and souls were in there.
The Diocese of Worcester says they've already brought religious items from Our Lady of Mount Carmel to Our Lady of Loretto. In April, they put information on how families can save stone plaques in a church bulletin. In Worcester, Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
A public meeting in Worcester will give people a chance to voice their thoughts on the new location of Doherty High School. The building committee for the new Doherty High is set to meet tonight. The meeting will focus on the potential building of a new location for Doherty Memorial High School. As of right now, the top new location for the school is Foley Stadium on Chandler Street. The public will have a chance to share their thoughts and have questions answered. The meeting starts at 6:30 in the cafeteria of the current Doherty High. Worcester Public Market is set to open in less than 3 months, and now we're learning some of the vendors expected to open on the ground floor. The $21 million project at Kelly Square will be home to about 35 vendors and market rate apartments. Recently announced vendors include Stillman Quality Meats, Miami Oyster Bar, Salt and Brine, and Bubble Bee Tea. Wachusett Brewing is also opening a tap room in the space. The site will include parking for tenants and customers.